Hello, hello, hello. It's Ollie Mack here, live from the School of Wisdom, which is Story Master's Tales, all kinds of things, and delighted to see you all. We've got an incredible day today, and I'm hoping that you're going to help me out throughout the day with your questions. We've got quite a lineup. Coming at 12 o'clock, we've got Jamie Thompson, and then we've got. I'm going to remember the running order. And then we've got Rihanna Pratchett. Oh, sorry, I'm just turning everything down because I've got lots of devices going in the moment. Rihanna Pratchett, we've got Dave Gilson, we've got Gilson rather. We've got we've got Charlie Higson, Russ Nicholson, and of course Ian Livingston. So amazing. Now, before that, we've got two other guests, which I hadn't announced until this morning. We've got Mark Lain and Eric Mandina. One of those that you might not know, he's from the Spoken Ventures, and Mark, if you're in the community, you'll know his name. Incredible chap. So I'm going to be bringing those up in a moment, and we'll be doing those. Now, I can see that we've got some fantastic people here who I can see with 16 viewers there. We are actually going to go on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, of course Facebook. If you can share, invite, that'd be great. I'm going to be sort of closing these down and opening them up again as we have the different guests come in. So fabulous. Now I can see Stuart Wallance is here. Hello. Adrian Barber, James Ockett, Sam Ford, loads of you guys. Who else have we got here? Someone else said hello. Colin, hello, Colin. Right, so without any further ado, we're going to bring up the interview with Mark Lain. So, here we go. Fingers crossed all the tech is working. By the way, this was a pre-record. This was done last night, so just enjoy it, and then we'll see you shortly. Hello, now this is a very special bonus. You weren't expecting, but we got the brilliant Mark Lain, who's well, goodness me, I mean, he's been writing game books, partially from himself and fan base, and now he's actually done it professionally. He is now launching a whole range, and this is the latest one, Destiny's Roll. Actually, is it the latest, Mark? Are you there?
It's the latest one that's out. It's not the latest one in my world or in the depths of my PC, but it's the latest one that's out there. There's two out there. There's number 0 because we're all very meta, 0 to hero, and there's which is a primer. There's number 1, which is the one you've got there, which is Mistress of Sorrows, which is the first full-length adventure. But in my world and in the world of Kickstarter, number 2 is written and done. Venom of Vortan, but the art's still being worked on because there's a lot of art for that one. I've got 19 artists working on it in various different capacities, so there's a fair bit of art to round up. So whilst the book itself is written, the art obviously is taking quite a long time because there's a lot of people out there working on it. And
why have you decided to go for the sort of the multi-artist sort of method? Is it just
for Venom of Vortan? Couple of reasons. I mean, the book itself, the actual game book part itself, is all done by one artist. It's done by Gary Ward, who did the sort of woodcut style stuff for Caverns of the Snow Witch. But and I wanted his aesthetic.
Do I have here?
There's a certain feel to the inside. Oh, you got it there.
Yeah, I've got it there.
Excellent. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful work.
There's a certain claustrophobic and kind of. I mean, there's a unique look to it. It's a unique woodcut look, but there's a certain claustrophobia to his interiors, and I wanted that for the interiors in. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. I wanted that for the interiors in Venom of Vortan because a large chunk of it is set underground in a sort of the underground sort of lair or underworld lair of Vortan the Snake Lord himself. But so I wanted his aesthetic, but. There was a situation with it where Vortan himself, the Snake Lord, there are 4 different ways you can have a final showdown with him. And obviously, he needed to be illustrated within the book, but if I got all 4 showdowns illustrated, we'd have 4 very similar illustrations within it, all done by the same guy. So I decided that within the book itself, within the body of the game book, there are no illustrations of Vortan. So to get around that, I decided we needed him somehow. So would I put him on the cover? No, it would ruin the surprise. So the Mike Tenebrae's colour cover is of Mrs. Vortan, his queen. And then Vortan himself, I decided, okay, we need him illustrating, so how are we going to do this? Let's not put him on the cover. Okay, let's have an appendix with Vortan in. Well, we can't have an appendix with just one Vortan. So then I thought, okay, let's get a couple of other people to do some Vortans. And then my whole I want to work with everybody kind of thing got a bit out of control. And I just ended up, it spiraled and spiraled. I think we had 10, then we had 11, and now we're on 19. I've just hired, in the last few weeks, I've hired Gary Mays, who did Robot Commando and Rebel Planet and Star Strider, to do a sort of cyberpunk mecha Vortan. It's going to be a bit different.
Right.
And I've just literally a few days ago hired Brett Schofield, who's done a fair bit of work for Arian for Advanced Fighting Fantasy, to do a 19th. And it's just I just keep spotting people's styles and thinking, yeah, I want that in there. Oh, that would make a good Vortan. Oh, I wonder what that person's Vortan would look like. So it just spiraled and spiraled, a combination of me wanting all of these different. The appendix is called Visions of Vortan, and I wanted all these different sort of interpretations of Vortan in different styles, but I also wanted to work with a whole bunch of people without having to, write the next 20 books to be able to work with all these people. So it just kind of grew and grew and grew into the sort of the way it is. But the actual book itself is just illustrated by Gary Ward. But
can you tell us about the world you've created, where it's set?
Sylvastria. Sylvastria is named after my mother, Sylvia, and it's named after her because she put quite a lot of money into both the Kickstarters. And when I decided to hire Malcolm Barter to do the map for Mistress of Sorrows, I had no name for the world, and Malcolm said to me, we're going to have a name on this map. We're going to have a name for the world. So I went with.
I don't know. I was going to come up. I'll try and hold it up there.
Yeah. So I went with Sylvastria, and there's various meanings to various of the towns in Sylvastria. There's all sorts of different meanings behind why they're named the way they are. Venom of Vortan starts in the desert, the northern city, the north of the Desert of Despair, called Den Moz, and then you go south from Den Moz, and the next book, which is going to be number 3, which I intend to kickstart in either October or November, Red Monsoon, is the first urban one. It's the first fully urban one. It's set in the town of Knotsbourne, which will mean something to anybody who knows where I was born. So all the different towns and cities all have different names, and I've got plans for books to be set in various different parts of it. I've got plans for a big conquistador epic, which is like the Silmarillion of the piece, where you actually discover and inhabit the land of Sylvastria when it's a kind of almost like a sort of old USA, and there's going to be this local indigenous tribe, maybe South America.
Sorry, how many have you got planned?
A lot more than they're listed in that front of the book.
Yeah, I've got Coming Soon and Red Monsoon, Blind Nemesis, and the Mastermaids of Denmos.
Maze Master of Denmos. Yeah, I don't know when Blind Men of Nemesis and the Maze Master of Denmos are going to happen. The next ones, number 3 is going to be Red Monsoon. Number 4 is going to be Kaleidoscope Frenzy, which is the sequel to the film noir Gumshoe one, Fragile Beauty, that's in Zero to Hero. And then number 5 will be Paradise Untamed. It's going to be called, which is the big conquistador thing. But there's going to be a whole linking thing where the film noir one, Fragile Beauty, and its sequel, Kaleidoscope Frenzy, is going to, without revealing too much, they're in modern day Sylvastria as well. So the whole thing is interlinked ultimately.
Wow, that's great. God, you have been busy and working. So obviously you've done this through Kickstarter. Were they all through Kickstarter, or is it just this?
No,
this
Zero to Hero I funded myself because it's got 4 internal illustrations and it's got a cover, so that I funded myself and just recouped it through sales through Amazon. But Mistress of Sorrows obviously had a big Kickstarter budget. Venom of Vortan's got a big Kickstarter budget, and the intention, touch wood, is that the rest of them will have big Kickstarter budgets because.
That's the way to do it. Just build and build.
Kickstarters. Exactly. And I can carry on working my way through the artists I want to use, because Red Monsoon, I've already lined up the artists for that. They're already signed up. There's going to be 3 working on it, and they're going to do 10 illustrations each, because it's Knotsborn has a sort of a Victoriana feel, sort of Victorian Gothic with a bit of Victorian steampunk jumbled in. It's the most advanced, sort of socially and technologically advanced place within Silvestria, which is much further ahead than everywhere else.
Yeah.
And there's an aesthetic in there where one illustrator is going to do 10 illustrations which reflect a kind of a Guignol sort of Gothic horror feel. One person is going to do 10 which represent a sort of a Victorian Gothic, and one person is going to do 10 who represent the steampunk aspect. So hopefully it'll gel quite well, which again is an excuse for me to work with 3 particular people.
Wow. So are you, obviously you're game book fanatic and fan, are you particularly drawn to any particular series?
Well, Fighting Fantasy was where I started. That's where it all began. So, that's kind of the granddaddy of them all, and that's the one that I most like. But I like other series for various different reasons. I like Fabled Lands for the open world thing. I like Falcon because it's the only series that really did sci-fi properly. Because most sci-fi game books don't have a great reputation, but Falcon did it really well. Yeah. Well, Way of the Tiger does the whole incorporates the martial arts thing very well. But game books are game books. I like I like anything that's a game book. It doesn't even have to have a system. I have no great preference as such, but Fighting Fantasy was where it started. So Fighting Fantasy is that's the one that's always going to have a place. I think special place.
Yes. Can you remember the first book you bought or were given?
Warlock of Firetop Mountain was bought for me. It was a speculative Christmas present, Christmas 1983. Yeah. So it had been out for a year, but there were only 5 out. There was only the first 5 out, and this was bought for me as a speculative Christmas present, just to see whether I showed any interest in it. And my dad would read it to me. I would pick the choices. He would roll the dice for the monsters. I would act out what I wanted to do, and then there was the do you like this thing? Yeah, I like this thing. Let's have another one. Yeah. So we went to W.H. Smith's in Newbury, and the other 4 were there. And the second one I got was, he wanted me to have Starship Traveller. The kids sci-fi, blah blah blah. But I didn't. I wanted City of Thieves because I liked the lurid Ian McKay cover with Zambar Bone. And then I capitulated, and the third one I got was Starship Traveller. Yeah. And then it just spiraled, and there came a point where I was going to W.H. Smith the Saturday after they came out to get the new title every week. Or whenever they came out. But yeah, I was there from an early stage. Fighting Fantasy only had 5 books when I first started reading them.
Yeah, no, it's a similar story. I was saving all my pocket money, and it was, it was quite definitely in that order. Oh, I think Forest of Doom was my third one. I don't think I went into Starship Traveller.
I don't know at what point I got Forest of Doom. Maybe about half a dozen in. Because I equate which game books I had to whether I was living in Wiltshire or going to school in Newbury at the time, or whether it was after we moved to Somerset. And I know Forest of Doom was in the Newbury era, so I must have had that pre-1986. Yeah. Some of them I know exactly where I got them and when, but others I just have to fit into. It's either the Newbury era or the Somerset era, and sort of do it that way.
Fantastic. And what about the more recent game books? Is there anything that's really caught your eye? Anything new, which is...
I think Michael J. Ward's doing a really interesting thing with Destiny Quest. Me calling my series Destiny's Role was a coincidence. My wife came up with that title, with role obviously being a play on role play, your role, roll the dice. But yeah, I think it's complex what he's doing, and it's not for everybody, because he's got all the item cards and all the extra missions that you can download and everything. But he's doing something really interesting as a sort of kind of almost a D&D advanced game book sort of thing he's got going on. Jonathan Green with Ace Gamebooks, whilst the approach is conventional, the concept, the very gothic. I always liked his books because they were gothic and they drew in a lot of true history and a lot of true folklore, because I'm very interested in history. So yeah, I think what he's doing is interesting in terms of kind of opening out those public properties and kind of classic kids books and that sort of thing, and the Christmas stuff with Twaza and Beowulf was a really interesting idea.
it's quite interesting what's happening with the media as well, with Bandersnatch and
Yeah.
the King Schmidt, and I think there's another one being planned at the moment. So who knows where it's going to lead?
Yeah, I mean they're opening it out, but it was happening the first time round. I don't know if you remember What's Your Story on BBC One, presented by Sylvester McCoy,
Ooh,
just after Doctor Who folded in '89.
yeah,
There was one series in '89 and one in '90, I think they were, called What's Your Story, and they presented the first part of a story on like Monday, for example, on kids' TV,
yeah,
and then everybody would phone in with all this hodgepodge of ideas, and then that night they would take the best ideas people have phoned in, write the script, shoot the thing unrehearsed,
yes,
broadcast that the next day, and then the next day this rolled cyclically. And the first series did it for 2 weeks, the second series did it for a week, but reading it, I mean, I remember watching it, but reading into it, apparently it was so logistically complex because they were working 24 hours a day.
yeah. Wow.
They had to take all the ideas when the phones closed at, I don't know, 8 or 10 at night or whatever time it was, get the thing written, get the actors working overnight, edit the thing, and then it had to be broadcast the next day. And apparently it was just a killer. It was just way over ambitious, but it was.
Are those on YouTube? I've got to find those now.
There are a few little clips on my YouTube channel, on the Malthus Star YouTube channel, just brief snippets of a few episodes. But I mean, Nightmare was that was the big one. Nightmare did it for 8 series.
Yeah, that was great. That was amazing.
It was great. Yeah. I would have liked to have gone on that, but it was one of the it was so ridiculously oversubscribed. I do know somebody who was on it.
Yeah.
But it was brutally difficult as well.
Oh, it was. I can't remember anyone actually completing it. I think
they
a couple
did.
of teams did.
There were 7 or 8 teams completed it or maybe more. It does say on their Wikipedia how many completed. There was one series that nobody completed, and there was one item no one ever found. But yeah, they could complete it. But can you imagine going through all the application process, you had to get permission from your school to go on it and stuff. They wrote letters to the school because it was kids, and then going up there, going to the studios, going through all the rigmarole, and like 5 minutes later you sidestep to the left and fall off something, and that's it, you're going home. So it must have been a bit soul crushing for people, but if you won, I guess it was quite an achievement. But when you see the teams that do win, they're so nonplussed. It's like they haven't even realised what's going on.
Yeah, it's hilarious. There's some great spoofs as well, and obviously Nightmare Live are doing a fantastic job as well of keeping it going. And
I saw it in London a few years ago on a festival on the South Bank that was on in summer, and it is good. It'd be nice to bring it back, because if you imagine them bringing it back with the tech we've got now and all the VR, but it would be great, but it also wouldn't be the same, because there's something a bit rock and roll about all the chroma key and everything and all the David Rowe art.
Yeah, that's good.
I mean, I've got every single episode of it on my media player, and I've got some of the French ones and some of the Spanish ones as well.
Oh wow, I didn't. Well, Mark, I'm going to get you to plug your websites and your book. How can we get your books and your next Kickstarter? When's that? Run through how people can find you.
Okay, well, plugging the website's easy because it doesn't exist yet, so that's nice and easy. I bought the domain a while ago, but I just need to get around to getting the website built. But at the moment, Zero to Hero and Mistress of Sorrows are both available on Amazon at a price point very slightly less than the new Fighting Fantasy books, as a bit of a nudge for people there. They're the paperback versions, so you've got the hardback Mistress of Sorrows, but they're the exclusives that I do for the Kickstarters. Kickstarter-wise, the next Kickstarter, which will be for Red Monsoon, which is book 3, it's the 4th book, but it's book 3 because we started at 0, is going to depend on when I can get Venom of Vortan out. The artists currently, I think I should hopefully have all the art in by late September, mid-October, depending on whether a couple of them are very busy, so I don't know if a couple of them can pull their schedules forward for me. I have asked. And then obviously I want to get that one out before I do the next Kickstarter, but hopefully the Kickstarter for Red Monsoon will be November, which was the same time that Mistress of Sorrows was last year, because I want to do one every November, get that book out early in the following year, do the next one about Easter, get that book out, and then and just follow that cycle with 2 books a year, first quarter, final quarter. I don't want to do constant Kickstarters because people are going to get cheesed off, and they're not going to be willing to back stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't want to lose the impetus, and I want to keep the thing moving, and I do want to try and get 2 out every year. I think
that's a good plan.
Is a reasonably realistic number.
Good plan. Fantastic.
So many ideas in my head, you know. I want to.
I know the feeling. Yeah, it's hard, kind of being artistic and putting that business head on at the same time. And when it's just yourself and you're self-publishing.
But it's an artistic exercise, but it's a commercial exercise as well at the same time. So you've got to think realistically about how you're gonna, go about your own budget, the money you need to spend yourself to deliver something half decent. Because the hardbacks I do for the Kickstarter, they're reasonably sort of high spec. They're quite sort of they're done by Ingram Spark, they're a nice pub.
It's great. Really good quality. Is that based in the UK?
Yes, they're in somewhere like Milton Keynes, I think. But they do actually have they've got print houses all around the world. I discovered them because Dave Morris used them for his Blood Sword 5 hardback Kickstarter. And then the paperbacks are done through their Amazon Print on Demand.
There's some faces here that look vaguely familiar. Are they? Who are the face? Who are the people? The human faces.
Show me the pictures.
Well, there's this one here. Who's this baker?
Oh, that's the innkeeper in the town of Coven, where the really intense witch trial goes. Bits of that are actually based on transcripts of the Salem witch trials. Bits from the history of Matthew Hopkins and stuff. I did quite a bit of research for that, which is probably why it came out so brutal. Yeah. But that's Steve Lester. On that first Kickstarter for Mistress of Sorrows, there was a top tier where you could get drawn in, and the innkeeper at Coven is Steve Lester. He gives you a bit of insight into the psychosis of the Witchfinder if you have a chat. That's
great. That's great. Well, Mark, thank you very much for joining us today.
No problem at all. It's been a pleasure.
And we'll speak soon. And do follow him. He's a fantastic chap, a fountain of knowledge, and obviously you're a big mover on the Fighting Fantasies Facebook pages and groups and things like you. So, thank you.
Okay. All right, no problem. It's been a pleasure. Take care.
Well, that was Mark Lain. I could do something about those titles. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Mark, for coming along. And now, next I've got coming up is, you might not have heard of him because he tends to do a lot of things in Canada and France and obviously in other languages. If you're from France, you will have heard of him. He's Eric Mandana from Spoken Adventures, and I'm going to introduce him now. So hopefully the tech is going to get better. Again, this was pre-recorded, so funny things with cameras, but we're getting there. We're getting there. Okay, guys, hope you enjoy this. Hello, Eric. How are you from Spoken Adventures and many other things? Now we've known each other for a little while.
Yep.
But for those that don't know you, could you explain who you are and what you do and what makes you special?
I don't think I'm that special, but my name is Eric, and I'm a pretty much video game veteran, we can say, I guess. Well, I've started doing video games in 1995, so there was no internet, so it was the very beginning. So I worked in a company in France called Cryo, and we were doing any kind of games at this time. It was the very beginning of real-time gaming. Then internet came up. Then cell phone came up. I moved to Gameloft in 2004. So when it comes to interactive, I've been around. And lately, I've been at Triotech, that's still doing. How can we say that? It's like video games for amusement park, like large scale attractions. All digital media, projection, 3D interactive, and this kind of stuff. So, and I've started the Spoken Adventures in 2017. That's my own company, so I'm the founder. And the idea is pretty simple. We did a simple equation. Audiobooks are cool. Voice recognition, it's new, it's cool. Narrative games are cool, and we ended up doing audiobooks, so that you can interact with your voice. You basically audio game books, we could say. So we didn't even find a name for it. I think audio game books is pretty cool. So you listen to audiobook and you can interact with your voice by answering questions or asking questions or taking decisions and choices, deliberations.
That's great.
So
And
we developed this technology in 2018. So now we are set. We have creation tools, writing tools that allows us to basically design the game, the narrative game.
Yeah, I've seen your trailers from your Kickstarters on your website, and they're fantastic. You've got people basically in the kitchen, cooking, but playing an adventure, and the sound. You do the soundscapes as well, and it's a great production. Incredible voice actors and sort of music that you use. So it's really heightened. I love it. It's a very exciting medium to be in.
That's the core. That's the two things we do. One thing, of course, the technology. So the Spoken Adventures is an application on iOS and Android. The application is free, and everything we do internally. So our specialties are technology and, of course, sound production. Just like you said, casting, recording in studio with the voice talents, sound design. I also have this lady in the team has a master in composition. We can do original soundtrack.
Wow.
We do professional studio recording with musicians. So everything sound related and interactivity related, that's our core business.
Yeah. And you've so far haven't done too many English titles as yet, have you? It's mostly sort of French. But can you tell us about the titles you have done?
It's mostly French. We have one title in English. There's just 3 episodes out of 6 that we released yet. But the thing is, we can do pretty much any language since we're using the voice recognition from the device. So let's say Siri on iOS or Google Assistant on Android, and they support every single language you can think. Even using the accent. When you choose English, you have or French. You have French from Quebec, French from Belgium, French from France. So it can support. And even though I have my accent, I mean, I'm the best I'm the best for testing one application because of my atrocious accent. It works for me. It works for you.
And what about children? Does it recognise children's voices as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Once again, it's a matter of regional options. So if you get the right, it's mostly the accent that can be an issue. But if you select the right accent or the right region of your language, there's no issue at all. Yeah,
because I can imagine it'd be a fantastic game for like a kid to play in bed with all the lights off, and you've got the sound, and just really helps their imagination really sort of draw that world.
We did a little prototype like this. It was pretty fun. The idea was it's not really a game. It's more of let's say theater experience because there's a story. The story is a script. And basically, the lines are printed in 2 colors. What's printed in black is told by the application. What's printed in green is told by the reader. And so you read this. As you read the script, you interact with the narrator, and you basically play the role of this imaginary theater experience. Yeah. And this is pretty cool even for the parents. If the kids are too small to read, the parents can read to the kid, but also to the app, and the app plays the characters and the sounds and all the music and the soundscape.
Fantastic. Now, if let's say I'm a Gamebook producer or writer, would you be interested in people approaching you if they've got something that they want to adapt, or are you too busy at the minute, or?
That's actually what we're doing right now. Like I was saying, we like to focus on what we're doing, what we do best. So it's technology and sound. So we're always happy to collaborate with other publishers, writers, game designers. So that's pretty much the idea. So we don't want to go there. We don't want to publish our own books. Or we don't want to. We want to provide the solution and the technology and the production capacity we have. So we're very open to creative people.
Fantastic. And can you see sort of other technologies coming in to what you do, such as AI or sort of video or
voice recognition is already AI by itself, since it's learning every day.
Yeah.
Every time sometimes you can. I remember 2 or 3 years ago, we were training the application, and some of the words wouldn't be recognized by the app, and today they are, because the application, the voice recognition, is smarter. It's getting smarter and smarter every time you use it. So we don't have to develop this part. What we're looking into, we could do augmented reality. We're going to have this new feature that can display image on screen according to what you say or according to what you hear.
Yes.
So there's going to be something more. But the idea is, I want the application, I want the technology to disappear, right? That's the idea. Like I always say to my clients, put the phone in your pocket and enjoy the experience. I don't want the phone to play a too big role in the experience.
Yes, I saw something on one of your websites which was like an escape room that you were doing as well, which is using as a picture. So can you tell us a bit about that?
That's something that we start doing lately, because once again, if we're an application on a phone, we just lost in the ocean of application. I mean, we have this issue of discoverability, and we came up with this idea of let's do it's not augmented reality. It's in a way, it's one of my clients said this is augmented reality. It is augmented reality, but not. We don't augment the reality with images. We augment the reality with sounds. So we start doing more and more audio experience based on visuals, illustration, or anything printed. And what we did, that was during the pandemic in March, we decided to explore the escape games experience.
Yeah.
So you have this printed poster with all the keywords you can investigate. There's a sofa, jacket, a phone, I don't remember. And every time you pronounce one of those keywords, you have the audio capsule playing with the sounds and voices, and this is how you play. At the end of the day, what we're doing is a video game. We replace the video by the soundscape, and we replace the controller by your voice.
Okay.
It's a game experience.
What about the rules? How are the rules sort of programmed? Is that quite an easy thing? Can you do quite complicated rules and combat and things?
No, that's the idea. If you think of this could be like a virtual game master, right? In a role-playing game, you have the game master, you have the players. The game master knows the rule. Players don't have to. So the application play as the game master. If you have to perform an action, roll a dice, do a calculation, give a number, take a decision, the application will tell you what to do, when to do it. So the game system can be as complex as you can imagine. The application is going to take care of it. Don't worry. So you can basically start a game, press play, and follow the instructions.
Wow, that's brilliant. That's amazing. Wow. So what's the next in the pipeline? What have you? Anything else coming on the Spoken Adventure app that people can sort of get now? Or
so like I was saying, we're doing lots of content for the kids right now. We're doing documentary for kids. So those are come in the form of a big poster that the kid can explore. The first one is the ant farm. So you have the ants, the queen, the eggs, and the kids can explore the poster by pronouncing the legends. It triggers dialogues, funny dialogues, and songs and clues, because of course it's also a game. We have another one that's about the role of the women in space exploration. It's going to come by the end of fall, winter. This one is very interesting. We're working on it as we speak. We've also been approached by a company in Quebec doing escape games. The real one, the escape games in a room. And they want Spoken Adventures to be the game master. It's going to welcome the guests, tell the story, tell them all of the riddles, give them clues as they ask and as they play. So it's going to be completely automated. So it is a virtual game master.
Wow. So how did you get into interactive books and things in the first place? What drew you as a young child or a teenager? I don't know. How old were you when you got into it?
Oh, Gamebooks. Actually, it was I remember the first one I read was, I know it was pretty big in France by this time, The Dark Eye.
Yeah.
The German brand, that's Schwarze Auge. and it was I don't even know the name in English. It was the l'auberge du sanglier noir.
Right.
And I tried this, and I mean, it was so amazing because you could see it was the very, very tip of the iceberg, right?
Yeah.
And I have so much memories of all those games. So this was the very, very beginning. And funny enough, all of my career I was doing visual images, art direction, creative direction, and then I just moved. There's of course a little bit of nostalgia from when I was a kid, and then that's what I want to bring back. Of course, there's nostalgia in game books, and that's what we like about them. But what I like most is what the game did with our imagination.
Yes.
We can do this, I did games on cell phone, on any console you can name, and images are kind of basically killing your imagination.
Yeah.
I'm not doing a war against images, but I want to bring back this part of imagination, of storytelling, and just close your eyes and enjoy your experience.
I feel that way about miniatures. I mean, and the people love miniatures, and painting is very therapeutic and things. But as soon as you do that, you're now looking at a set, a toy, not toy set, but a model set.
If you let me, I have my drawer here in my office, and I have a bunch. Oh, look at it! I love those guys. Warhammer.
Ah, yeah.
They're the best.
I said there's nothing wrong with them, but I just say they don't. For me, it was the storytelling. If someone can sit down and tell you a story, and it all builds in your mind, that's way better than when you suddenly look at a little elf and think that's
so,
you.
So yeah, that's the idea. We just need this little spark to create this imaginary world. And funny enough, when people ask me, I still say I still create images. But I don't create images on the screen. I want to create images in people's head using soundscape and storytelling. And we realize every day how powerful the sound is. We were doing this little game the other day, and I remember just a little example. The story was you enter a cave, and there's like dry bones on the ground, and as you step on the bones, there's a little an echo, a river, right?
Yeah.
And then there's you end up being face to face with a dragon, and I was listening, and I told the sound designer that you can't fit a dragon in such a small room, and actually the echo he put on my footsteps suggested the size of a room that in my head was way too small to fit a dragon in there.
Yeah.
And that was pretty good experience because everybody listened to this, and it was very obvious for everybody.
Yeah.
It's way too small, for the dragon, just because of the echo was suggesting a whole room.
Yeah.
So it's not about using the right words or of course it's this, but the sound design. But we realized the accuracy that we need in each of the sound if we want to create the perfect soundscape, the perfect images, basically.
Yeah. And is it mainly fantasy that you're really into, or have you thought about doing, obviously sci-fi you do quite a bit, or what about anything historical?
Yeah, fantasy always been in my heart. Of course, I'm very interested also, we do lots of work also for museums as interactive audio guides. So museums are always so excited. We are working right now with a planetarium in Montreal, so about space exploration. The ants are exciting. Marine museum for the boats and the history, the Champlain Lake, I live by the lake, so everything is exciting, right? So, but yeah, fantasy. Still looking at my box of miniatures.
It's a big thing, yes.
Close to my heart. So inspiring, you're right.
Fantastic. Well, Eric, thank you so much for coming along and talking to us today. And just do a little shout out. So how can people sort of find you, or are you on Instagram, or how do they find the app? And
Spoken Adventures is the entry keyword. Spoken Adventures on Instagram, Spoken Adventures on Facebook, Spoken Adventures on the Apple Store. So it's one word.
Is that the same for all languages? Is it mainly in French at the moment? Is it still Spoken Adventures?
Yeah, even for French.
That's great. Wonderful. Well, thank you very much again. Thank you for your time. Have a great evening, and we'll see you soon. And do connect to Eric because he's a fantastic fella. Thank you again.
So much.
Take care. Bye bye. Well, thank you very much, Eric and Mark, for those interviews. Well, it's going so well so far. Thank you very much for the chatting. The next one we're going to be lining up will be at 12 o'clock. Try and come in a little bit sooner, just so you know what's going on and you don't come in late, because we're going to need your questions. And we've got the fantastic Jamie Thompson here. He's going to be talking about Fable Lands. And everything else you want to know about Dark Lord and his other Gamebook series. So, target on those guys. So, get your questions in, and you can pre-question now, but it'd been also nice on the actual event itself at 12 o'clock. So, see you guys then. Oh, by the way, what else have we got lined up? If you don't know already, we've got Rihanna Pratchett at 1 o'clock, David Gilman at 2, Russ Nicholson at 3. Charlie Higson at 4, Ian Livingston at 5, and I'll be rounding up the day for the interviews at least with kind of what I do at about 6 o'clock. Don't forget, we got the Bureau, the virtual beer, what's it called, James? Anyway. Bureau, whatever it is, the virtual pub crawl. So that's at 8 o'clock, I believe. I think the Bottled Imp, Ken Bottrell, is also doing a reading of Beowulf as well. So, have a look at the page. If you want to comment, best to go to the International Gamebook Day. Is it that way? It's that way. The actual event page, because I'll look at that a little bit more than all the other ones, because we're on. Thank you, Bureau. So, okay, guys, we will see you then, and spread the word. Keep coming. Otherwise, we'll see you back at 12 o'clock.